Every couple is looking for these three. Let's try to define them. First of all, intimacy. Intimacy refers to our closeness, being connected, bonded, feelings in a relationship, creating an experience of warmth and friendship. So really, you could kind of sum it up by saying intimacy is a deep, meaningful friendship. And as we talk about having a soulmate, talk about what we expect in marriage, ideally, what we would like is for our partner to be our best friend. Now, that's easier said than done, and I would suggest that's a fairly high expectation level. But I think that's what people are looking for. The problem is most people do not have the skill level to attain or maintain a relationship of deep intimacy. Now, many of our other seminars in the couple clinic are dealing with issues about why people don't and how we can overcome that. Part of it is communication. Part of it is conflict resolution. Part of it is understanding the different personalities. We're different personalities. Understanding the fact that each gender has its own culture, male and female culture. Trying to not miscommunicate as we communicate across cultures to one another. So there are many things that sometimes interfere with our ability of developing intimacy, but still the desire for that is at the core of our expectation. I've listed a couple of things in your handout. What are we really looking for under intimacy? Experiencing happiness with the loved one. You know, we want to be happy. We want to feel like we're close and things are good. Having high regard for the loved one. We want to hold each other and be held in high regard. Being able to count on the loved one in times of need. Mutual understanding with the loved one. Sharing oneself and possessions with one's loved. And receiving emotional support from one that's loved and giving that emotional support. Having intimate communication with your loved one. So basically, intimacy is something that we all understand and we all desire. But it's easier to aspire to than it is to attain, and certainly to maintain. We'll be looking a little bit more on your handout. You might look a little further. There's actually a diagram of intimacy. It's on the second page. Intimacy, underneath that phileo, brotherly love, pretty much equates with the concept of intimacy. But look at the graph. At the bottom I have something Sternberg wrote. These are based on his research. Intimacy grows steadily at first in a relationship and tends to level off. So that you kind of reach a peak of intimacy that the relationship is able to maintain or achieve. But if it disappears completely, the relationship is likely to fail. So, again, this is something whose trajectory is a little bit more slow, certainly slower than passion. Passion goes from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. But intimacy takes time. You can't really feel intimate with someone and really be intimate with one in terms of closeness without time going by, time to really understand them, time for them to understand you, time for people to share. But notice on the diagram, it has expressed intimacy and latent intimacy. And what that's suggesting is that couples, after a while, when you come home at the end of the day and it's about cooking supper or bringing some things together and getting over a meal, and if they're children, taking care of children, and talk about the business of the day and then trying to relax a little bit and then do it all over again the next day. Oftentimes, you don't have time, perhaps the energy, to express the full depth of the intimacy you've already attained. So that's that word latent intimacy. Sometimes we're much closer to the person than we're actually expressing. Why? Because we're just, we're dealing with the business, day-to-day stuff of life. And so we're kind of, if you will, in intimacy, we're on this level. But we have actually achieved a deeper level of intimacy if we need to go to that level. And of course, if we lose, if it goes down, then there's oftentimes this big difference between the kind of level of intimacy that we attain by growing to know and understand one another, and then our level of actually experiencing that closeness. Is sometimes there's a big gap. And the bigger the gap, the more dissatisfied we become. Because obviously we have a closer relationship than we're actually living out in a practical way. And so that's basically what Sternberg found. In a longer-term relationship, couples tend to level off in terms of their intimacy, and they tend to have developed more intimacy in their closeness, their understanding of each other, than they seem to be living out. And so just a kind of reminder that sometimes we need to spend a little more energy getting to the depths of the intimacy we have with one another, taking some time to plumb the depths of the love that we've created, rather than living on a more just business day-to-day level of relationship.